And a big hello to you, boys and girls. It's Sunday, the 27th of January 2019. A warm welcome along to this morning's United Kingdom talk, coming to you slightly earlier on a Sunday. The Sunday times, I'm sorry about that, but they're kind of jumping around a little bit from early to quite late. It just depends where it fits in on my day, really. So we might be a little bit thin on the ground this morning. Last week we did, I think it was 12:30 last week. This morning 9 o'clock, sometimes 11:30. So make sure you have those little notifications fitted. I'm kind of trying to rearrange my Sunday a little bit. I used to get up to just a couple of weeks ago at 7:20 on a Sunday morning. And I'll be honest, I was finding it a bit hard going, especially Shania, who's there. Good morning, Shania. She's got the first message in this morning. Morning, Shania. As Shania will tell you, sometimes those sermons at church are a little bit, how can I put it, sleepy. Sleepy. So I like to be wide awake to try and give Father David my full attention. So to do that, I decided to stop setting the alarm on Sunday morning, and I find myself, well, funnily enough, this morning I woke up at 7:15, which is about half an hour later, and I could have done it. I could have sort of rushed around, and I thought, I don't need to do that, really. So now I'm kind of waking up without alarm. I woke up at 7:15. I stayed in bed till about 8:15. I sort of dozed off again and woke up again about 8:15. And I thought I'd do a show later. And then I had my breakfast. And I thought, well, I've got time to fit one in now. I mean, let's talk for as long. If we've got space, extra space to talk, let's fill every second with a little bit of conversation. And be done with it. So that's why we're quite early today. So I don't know who's going to be up and who's not going to be up. Another little bit of good news. I've not been able recently in the last week and a half, 2 weeks or so, to share the show to other Facebook groups. It gets shared to quite a few Facebook groups, and it's me that does that. Some of the Learn English website groups, I know people watch it. And people would say, well, that's not proper BBC English. Well, if you come to this country, you will find that not everyone speaks the same as the people on the BBC. Depending where you are in the country, we all speak differently. And I think it's a good idea to have like a broad range. There was some bloke on one of the Learn English website groups, an English bloke, of course, who came on there and says, it's not very good English. Perhaps not, but it's my English. And if you come over here, you will experience some terrible English, dear. Especially if you go up to Newcastle. I mean, God knows what anyone up there is saying. It's like another language altogether. I don't understand. Or South London. There's a very, very strange accent in South London as well. So the idea is that you get a sort of a broad range. And if you're trying to learn English and you're trying to do it by listening to the BBC, that's good. That's the best English on the BBC. But you want to look at other different programmes, young people, old people, men, women, and we all speak a little bit differently. So that's why this is on some of the Learn English website groups and also Facebook Live groups, and there's a talk radio group. And I've not been able to share it on any of those groups in the last week and a half. Don't know why. Anyway, there was a Facebook update this morning, which I did. And what happens, I get the show up in here, there's a little share button. Now, there is one on a computer as well, but it's a bit long-winded, and I'd probably only get it to share on a handful before we got to the end of the countdown. On here, it comes up and you go, share, right? I know there's nothing on there at the moment. You'd go share, and then and each one is a group, you see, and it's all over, and you can do the whole lot in like a minute. Last couple of weeks, I've not been able to do that, but we're back on there. So if you've missed us for a couple of weeks, I'm sorry about that. The best way, really, is to hit the subscribe button on either YouTube or Facebook Live. YouTube.com/Chris Reardon UK is where we are there, okay? YouTube.com/Chris Reardon UK. And, of course, on Periscope and on the Facebook as well. So if you're early this morning, up bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, as indeed I am, I'm wide awake now, and not the case when I wake up at 7:20 in the morning, and then you look at the bike and I thought, do I really want to cycle all the way to church? And I do it, but I'll be going for 11 o'clock mass in future. Also, there is another reason for that, because Shania, who, as you can see, is with us this morning, and her father, Vectis, I think Callum, that's his son as well, was Shania's brother. I think he does the radio as well. They got very upset with me last week. Oh, yes, dear. Not that I want to stir the pot at all. You know me, dear. I like to keep everyone happy. But they do this radio show on the Isle of Wight at the same time as I was doing my show this week. Well, I started getting hate mail and everything. It was awful. I had to ring up Facebook in the end. It was terrible. I'm receiving hate mail from Shania and her family. And they wrote back Facebook and they said to me, well, why is that? I said, well, I'm just doing my show at the same time. And they said, well, stop doing your show at the same time. So that's why I've moved it as well, especially for the people on the Isle of Wight who were feeling left out. They were they were feeling left out. Morning, Shania. Who else is there this morning? Angela Waters in Melbourne. What did you have yesterday, Angela? 45 degrees. Oh, my God. Oh, no. Now, I've got lots of cousins and relatives and a good amount of friends in the beautiful country of Australia. And I messaged my cousin, Jo, her name is Jo, and... Jo is the wife of my cousin Tim, and they've got 3 delightful children, India, Finn, and, oh God, I can't remember one of them. Oh, that's deadly, isn't it? Who's the one that used to pull my ears? Oh God, I can't remember, the little blonde-haired lad. He must be about 10 now. And I was saying to them, how are you coping? This was, I think it was last night or the night before. And the reply that came back, they said, well, it's 10 o'clock in the morning and we've just been for our second swim. Just can't cope. I don't know how anyone copes in 45 degrees of heat. I've been to Australia, right? Many times. It's never got to 45. I think the hottest it got was about 33 or 34, maybe 35. But 45, Jesus. I mean, there was in the papers that literally people and animals literally drop down dead. Can't cope with it. And the air conditioning stuff over there, well, I mean, if you put enough demand on any electrical network anywhere in the world, it's going to go down. It can't cope, and their electric was going out, so then they didn't have any air conditioning. And you know what it's like, putting a fan in front of you in really hot weather? All it does is blow hot air at you all the time. Awful. Just awful. So my heart really, I mean that, Angela. My heart really goes out to you. It really does. I'll send you some snow. We might have snow next week. Do you want me to send some of you that over in a cool box? You know those cool boxes where you take your sandwiches and cold drinks on little journeys in the car? I'll send it over in one of those. Morning to Ray Reynolds. My very, very dear friend Ray Reynolds is with us this morning. Super sore away Sundays. You're absolutely right. Ray Reynolds is washing this morning, is doing his washing. I've got a load of washing to do. I do my stuff from the caravan, usually on the Friday night, come back to London, go home, and Saturday morning I do my washing from the caravan. I've got an extra load this week because I've got reds. You know what I mean? I've got reds. I have some red items, including this red. That's why I'm wearing a red T-shirt today, because I know I'm going to do my reds later on. Reds must be done separately, otherwise you end up with everything pink, don't you? Morning to Juan, good morning. Morning to Chris Reardon. Your knighthood is well on its way. I don't think anyone would notice me if I had to give me a knighthood. Morning to you. Hello to Katie Ann Patterson. Oh, you're all there. I'm really surprised everyone's up this morning. Johnny Key is in the house. Hello, Johnny. You lovely man. Juan says, of course they are sleepy, the Sunday masses, so as to rest much of the way of the Almighty Father. I think you're right. Especially the sermon. Let's just pop over onto YouTube. Anyone over there this morning? Yes, there is. Hello to Joanna. Are you all right, Joanna? Hello, darling. Weird City Citizen. Notification working. That all seems to be everything's working again. Isn't it great? See, with technology, as I've said before, sometimes people say, oh, we didn't get this, we didn't get that. I don't do anything differently. So the best thing to do is just carry on, and eventually someone somewhere else in the world fixes it. Probably a little tick in a box or something like that. What's the cross by the Mirable? That's a Maltese cross. As given to me a few years ago, actually, by my very good friend, not Danny, Adam the plumber, who went to, I think he went to Malta for a holiday, and that is a, do you want a closer look? It's ever so pretty. Here, look. It's stapled up there. Oh, if I take that down, I don't really want to take it down. I'll take a... Oh, damn, I had something from Maureen today on my phone as well. Hang on, let's see if I can do it like this. 1 minute. Let's take a picture of it. And I'll see if I can get a bit closer to you for this photo. There we are. Right, now if I show you this, maybe... there you go. How's that? Isn't that beautiful? It's a Maltese cross. I'm not sure of the story behind the Maltese cross. It's actually been up there for a few years now. And of course, we decorate the studio now and again in a different backdrop. At the moment, we've got our winter backdrop up now. But that always goes back up there, always. Okay, so it's a Maltese cross, as given me to Adam the plumber. Have a look on the Google. It does mean something, the fact that it's a Maltese cross, all right? Morning to John Parrish, who's back from China. Did you miss me? Were you away? Did anyone miss John Parrish? Anyone? Come on, there must be someone who missed his quips. Anyone? Morning, John. Hope you had a lovely time in China. How wonderful. Gosh, and I gather a friend of mine went to China some years ago now, and he said the people are really polite and warm and nice. That's what you want when you go somewhere, isn't it? I love it. I love it. Morning to Christina Ewing down in Portsmouth. Katie loves different accents. Oh, yes, so do I, Katie. My favourite accent is Liverpool. My favourite accent is Liverpool. I like the Scottish accent quite a lot. But it has to be said, if it's a really thick Scottish accent, I have trouble understanding it. But I do prefer I'd love to go out with someone with a Liverpool accent. Maybe not Ken Dodd, but, someone else. Oh, he's dead anyway, and so there we are. Ken Dodd, what a great entertainer. Good morning to Khalid. Good morning to Khalid. He'd be on one of the Learn English website groups. Rabbits run, dig that hole in the ground, says Juan. 39 degrees where Katie is in Gatton. Oh, it's nothing, Katie. Well, it's practically cold compared to the rest of Sydney. 45 degrees you had yesterday. We get it on the news. We're getting it all on the... I'm very, very surprised, and I hope it doesn't happen, that you haven't had any of those massive bushfires yet. Terrible. You know what? A lot of the time people start those off. We had it here. I'm quite near a forest here in Bracknell. It's not far at all. And we've had people setting light in the middle of the summer to the forest. Why would you do that? Why on earth would someone do that? I'm sure the same thing happens in Australia. They think it's funny. They think it's funny to set light to a little bit of bush and then the whole thing, and then people lose their homes. I don't understand people at all. Some very weird people in there. People saying hello to Ray this morning. That's nice. Feel free to talk to each other on there. Christina did her reds yesterday. Good. Get them out of the way, my dear. Let's just go down a little bit here. No. There we are. Good. So one of our karaoke people, I have to say, on Friday night, because we weren't here yesterday. I was a little bit busy yesterday. Friday night, one of our karaoke people, his name's Robert. He's the short black guy with the glasses. Lovely chap. And I said to him, it got on the subject about tax or something like that. I said, that was it. I said, what are you doing this week then? He said, I've got to do my tax returns. He said, I've got another week to do it. I said, why do you leave it so late? He said, well, I've got a week to do them. He said, I'll just get the receipts and all that together. I said, well, don't you do them throughout the year? He said, well, bits and pieces. He leaves it till the last minute. And to be fair, he's not the only one. And I don't get that. Why would you leave such an important thing to the last minute? Now, everyone, certainly here in the UK, the government tax year is till the 31st of January. Okay? So by the 31st of January, you have to have I think it's only online. I don't think you can send in paper ones anymore, can you, to the tax people? Someone may know the answer to that. But certainly the online one, you have to get that off. The very last date is the 31st of January. Now, some people do it themselves. Some people, like me, have an accountant. So throughout the year, every single week, usually on a Saturday morning, I come in here in my little office and I type out my expenses and my incomes. And I have quite a large, complicated tax thing because I do so many different things. I've got my karaoke nights. There's no DJ nights anymore. I've got my karaoke nights. And I've got my landlord stuff. That's the complicated one, the landlord stuff. I wouldn't have a clue what to do with that. But basically, you need to write down all your expenses and all your incomes. And I have that on the computer program. And I also have So here we are. That's my disco receipts, right? So anything to do with my karaoke nights, disco. So that's that lot. There's not many in there, as you can see. That's just basically fuel, petrol, anything like stationery stuff that I buy, maybe pens. Music-wise, well, I subscribe to Spotify. I can put that through as an expense. Need that for the business. Any karaoke discs I bring through, payments for the car, anything like that goes in that envelope. And in this envelope, which is not much in here this week either. I seem to be missing some receipts in here for some reason. But here are all my expenses for the housing for the landlord stuff. And all these envelopes, and they sit there. And then there's one, so that I do a monthly one for the music business. And a 3-monthly one, see that? January, February, March, for the landlord business. And they all sit over there. I've got a great big stack of them, look. All right, hang on a minute. Oh dear, that's it. Lot to pick up here. Okay. So there we go. That's all receipts. And that is for the previous year. Okay, well, this year that we're in now, right? Now, I told you the government tax runs from, I think it's up until the 31st of January. My tax year runs from the 1st of March until, I think it's March. Hang on a minute. January, February, March. No, I think, I don't know. 1 minute. March. Yes. My tax year runs from the 1st of April round to the 31st of March. I think I've got that right. So, on the 31st of March, that's the end of my tax year. So, the very last receipts for that year go in that one. And then that's it. And then the next week, okay? Now, remember, I've got until the 31st of January to get my stuff in, right? Okay? But my tax year finishes on the 31st of March. So, in that first week of April, as soon as the 31st of March has come, in the first week of April, I put together all my receipts that I just showed you, all the bank statements, everything else. I go through on my computer and see if there's anything missing, like a regular outgoing. For example, car finance payment, it must go every month, May, June, July, August, and then it might go August, December. And then, I've missed out and so I haven't put them on, right? And you want to put everything on there because otherwise you pay more tax. You've got to put everything through that you're allowed to put through. You must go through it all. And it's like the Spotify thing, okay? I stream from Spotify, $4.99 a month, okay? So, again, April, May, June, and then September, I've missed August out. Then you put it in, $4.99. In your head, you don't have to double check that really because you know that's what goes out every month. Mobile phone, a portion of electricity, a portion of gas, all goes on these bits of paper. And then I look at it, and when I'm happy with it, I then print the whole thing out, loads and loads of bits of paper. And then everything, I go down to Ryman's, and I get a DHL box. And rather than send it in, it's cheaper to do it like this. And plus, I quite trust DHL for not losing stuff. So I go into Ryman's. I said, I've got one of your some stuff to send off. He said, okay, what have you got? And then I'll produce this carrier bag with all the receipts and all that. He said, okay. And then he gets a couple of different boxes out and we see which ones it all fits in. Put it in the box, seal it all up, pay the bloke at Ryman's. He gives you a receipt and that's it. And it all goes off to my accountant. Right? That's the first week in April, like the week after my tax year finishes. So he sits on that. He might sit on that for a couple of weeks or a couple of months, depending on his how busy he is. But generally, by March, April, by the end of May, I know how much tax I've got to pay the next January. Okay? So I've just paid my tax. And the next June. And that's how it works. So you're way ahead. You've got plenty of time, to save up the money for the next tax bill. And it's all done months and months ahead of when I actually need to do it. And that's how it works. That's how it works for self-employed people. You pay tax twice a year, but you pay a large amount. Not like most of you who have got little day jobs and night jobs and you pay a certain amount a week, pay as you earn type thing. We don't have that as self-employed. You get 2 bills a year and you can get those bills as early as you want them. Really, the earlier you send in, the quicker you find out how much you're going to pay. And I do not understand people who leave it until the last minute. I've seen it on Facebook before. People are typing away little messages. Won't be out for, they write this last week in January. And they're on there on the 29th of January. Can't believe I haven't sorted out my tax yet. And I'm like, are you mad? You've had months and months to do it and you leave it till the last minute. Because, of course, if you get your tax thing in, if you put it in after the 31st of January, then you get fined £100. £100. And then there's other deadlines. They then have other deadlines after that. And if you keep missing them, more fines. And I think if it goes on for a couple of months, I think they actually start charging you an extra percentage of what you've earned. So it's highly in your interest to get those tax things in as quickly as possible so as to avoid any fines and know exactly where you are. And I talked to this bloke, Robert, and he's just not done anything yet. Isn't that strange? Strange and mysterious. That's right. Strange and mysterious. Let's have a look here. Let's just scroll down to some of your messages there. Katie, they have done it here. I'm in the here. So Katie's had they've set light to the bush in Australia before. People just do that. Stupid people think it's funny to set light to the bush or the forest in the middle of summer. I don't know why they do that. Katie says her daughter does her tax. Oh, that's handy. That's handy to have a member of the family. I send mine all off to an accountant. His name's Stephen. He's looked after me for years and years and years. Always advise someone to have an accountant because you've probably got stuff that you could put down or things that allow you to quite legally pay less tax, but you don't know about them. He does. I mean, like the clothes, like this, for example. Now, I wear this on the stage, okay, this jacket, so I can put this down as a tax-deductible item. It goes under stage clothing, you see. Certain things you could put down. I never used to do that until the accountant says, well, what do you wear on the stage? Just clothes. He said, well, you can put those down. Oh, didn't know that. You see, it's always worth having an accountant. Gustav, good morning to Gustav. Is he drunk again? Gustav, you should know I don't drink anymore. I haven't done for like 25 years. I don't drink, dear. Please, don't cast everyone with the same shadow that's over your liver, dear. About time that was removed, isn't it? They're talking about recycling bodies the other day on the telly, Gustav. I don't think they're going to find anything inside you to recycle, are they? Morning to you, sir. Let's just got to scroll down a little bit there. I'm not reading it. Here's a tip from Gustav. A tip to Gustav. How to cure anal warts using onion juice. Oh dear, wouldn't that sting? Oh dear, I don't like the sound of that. Good morning to Graham. Hello, Graham. You're right, darling. Hello, Graham. We must all write to the Queen and get Sir Chris his knighthood for his services. Goodness knows what services he's given out. I don't know if that's a very good idea. I wonder if the Queen watches the show. Perhaps TM does. Can you have a word with TM? Ask her to tune in one week, dear. Has anyone seen the Ted Bunny tapes on Netflix? It's just like this show. No, never seen that. Ted Bunny? Never heard of him. Who's he? Who's he, Gustav? Don't know who that is. What else have we got here? Did we say hello to Weird City? Oh, you're talking to each other on there. That's good. That's good. Excellent. Thank you, Graham. I'll have a little look at that. I can't click and do the thing while I'm doing the show at the same time, unfortunately. All right. So that's our tax return interest. Very busy in the bank yesterday. What happened? When I go in the bank, I go different times, but I went yesterday morning. And once again, the machine was that takes the money, so you have to queue up. Oh, Christ. And there's 3 machines in this bank. There's 2 inside and 1 outside. Now, I never, ever use, unless I absolutely have to, which is extremely rare. I haven't used the machine outside for years. I will not use the machine outside a bank. I think you're liable to be banged on the head by someone and have your money taken. So I always go into the bank. And in the bank, there's 2 machines, right? There's one machine, I think, that you can do stuff on, check your accounts and all that. I guess for people who have, there are, believe it or not, people who still don't have, the delightful Maureen doesn't have a computer. She's not got a computer. People still don't have computers. So they've got that in there and you can do stuff on there. There's only one machine where you can put money in. I don't get it. Great big thing it is. Great big fat machine it is. And you do things on it, and you can put money in or take money out. There's another machine you can take money out of, but you can't put money in it. And this machine, when it goes wrong, of course, you've got to queue up or go around the outside and put it in a little envelope in the machine now. And as I say, I don't like going outside. So then you have to queue, and there's a mile-long queue out there, dear. And it's so annoying. Isn't it annoying, right, when you're in that queue, 2 or 3 people in front of you perhaps, and you can see at the cashier number 5, please, comes your collection points. Oh, no, that's Argos, isn't it? Sorry, not that you'd know anything about Argos, Graham. Sorry to offend you there. Or Gustav, they know nothing about Argos at all. They cashier number 5, please. Oh, you get that, don't you? And you're looking over, and they've completed their business, and they're having a bloody conversation about what they're cooking for dinner. The latest chicken in a bag or something like that. Or where they're going on holiday. It's outrageous. And we're queuing there, queuing and queuing and queuing. And that's what happens when the bank machine goes out of order. I don't know what it is, but in my bank, they have the slowest machines of all time, I tell you. You push this button and then you feed your money in, right? This like a little slot. It doesn't grab it out of you. It does grab the checks. There's 2 little slots in this bank machine. There's 3 slots. There's one that the money comes out of, and there's one where you put money in, like a little mini wad of notes that you put in there, or one note, whatever you've got in there. And there's another slot where you put checks in. So the money thing, you got your money ready, and you type in cash deposit, right? And then it thinks. And then it says, okay, put your cash in now, make sure that all the folds and creases are out before you push it in. So you're folding this money down like this. Folding these notes down. Then you put it in the machine and it slowly draws it in. Okay? Then it does strange noises. And then if it goes on a bit long, you know what's going to happen. It's going to reject one or some of the notes. And more often than not, a note will be rejected. And then it takes that money, and then the other note it don't want comes back out. I got a forged £20 note the other week. Forged! A forged £20 note. Fortunately, where I work, they were very understanding, and they took it back, because it can't have come from anywhere else. It's the only place that pays me cash, and swapped it over. But anyway, it usually rejects a note, and then you look at the note and you can't find anything wrong with it. You put it back in again and it takes it. So that's how that works, right? But it's so incredibly slow, this machine. Now, when I go up to another bank, if I need to put some money in my sister's account or something like that, or my nephew's account, anything like that, you go up there. That's the, what bank is that now? The HSBC. Completely different machines. Proper machines that look like they're there to do the job. And this little, in that one, you don't feed the money. A little drawer opens. Oh, it's camp. Little drawer opens like that. You push your button. Would you how much do you want to put in? And I think you tell it. And then it's asked for sort code, and it's already got the two of the numbers on there. So you type in these numbers. I don't know what it is, 0078, whatever it is. Then you type in the account number, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then you push a button, and this little drawer like that, it opens upwards, like that, and it makes a little noise. I love it. And then you just drop your notes in there and the drawer closes and ding, and then it comes up with the amount. And it never rejects any notes at all. And it's quick. You're in and out of there in a minute. Not in my bank. It takes forever for the blooming machine to get on with its work. I don't know. Maybe the people who are behind the machine, because I believe all these machines, they're not automatic. Oh, no. This is a fantastic job if you're a small person. Are we allowed to say the word midget anymore? I don't think we are we? No. So a small person. So if you're a small person and you want a job, the banks are crying out for little people to sit behind those machines, and as the money comes in, they count it all up. There's a little bloke and a little lady behind there. They're like that, and they count the money and that. And now and again, just to piss you off, they chuck another one back out the little hole at you and say, nope, that one doesn't work. That's how they work. I'm sure that is the case. In the HSBC, they pay extra for better people in there, boys and girls. Better people in there who can do it much more quickly. Fantastic. But the one in our bank is incredibly slow. It really is. Juan, Chris, those automatic teller machines come from an American man whose idea became, to say the least, reality. Yeah, Katie could do that. She's a small person. I'm small, Katie. I'm only 5'8". Katie could do that job, sitting behind there. Gustav, wasn't Argos invented to keep the riffraff out of John Lewis? Yes, and you can be seen in there regularly, I gather. Is that right? You know, the funny thing about doing this show and some of the chat I do while I'm doing the karaoke nights is the fact that I tell stories like this. And I've just told you, there's small people behind machines. And now and again, I do stories where it involves addition, adding numbers up and things like that. And I'll say, oh yes, it's so that's centigrade to Fahrenheit. So it's 21st. So it's 40 centigrade today in Melbourne, Australia. So that's 40 in Fahrenheit. That's 40. That's 80 plus 30. That's 179 Fahrenheit. And I'll say something like that. And people actually, they don't get it. They don't get the fact that you're having a joke. And I always find that hilarious. The very fact, and I work a lot with drag queens and entertainers. And sometimes they tell stories and jokes, and I get them all. 99 times out of 100, I get all the jokes. And other people sit there so po-faced. And then I find it even funnier. The fact that these dimwits don't get the joke. Good morning, Geron. Morning to Geron this morning. Welcome to the show. Diane says that would suit me, that job. I'm only 5'1". My ads always say I'm a midget. Oh dear. Hello to Paul and Lou. Good morning, Paul and Lou, joining us this morning with a little notification. Everything's working now, Paul and Lou. I'm so happy. So that was in the bank yesterday. And then I had to go to Morrison's to get a little bit of shopping in there. And on the way there, I was on my bike yesterday. And I think I told you before, I've got a little bit of a problem with my knees. And it's on the side of the knee, mainly the left one. For the first time yesterday, the right one was a little bit of a pain as well. And it's generally only if I'm on my bike or kneeling down, which is in church or doing cleaning or something like that. Not in chariots, unfortunately. But if I'm kneeling down on my knees, I can get pains in my knees. And I'm cycling up this hill, and there's a lady, probably just a little bit older than me. She's pushing her bike. And as I got sort of in line with her, I said, we need electric bikes getting up these hills. She said, oh, I'm just going to buy one now. I said, oh, are you really? So I stopped my bike to have a conversation with yet another unknown stranger. I do this quite a lot. I stop people in the streets and start talking. They all think I'm mad. They all think I'm mad. I stopped people randomly and talked to them in the street. And she was going to buy a bike. I said, where are you going, up the Halfords? She said, no, I'm going to Berkshire Cycles. They've got a better deal in there. I said, oh, right, okay. I said, do you mind me asking, how much are you going to spend on this? She said, well, it's just under £1,000. I said, right. I said to her, because I have been told by several people now, if you want an electric bike, do not spend less than £1,000, because apparently, 2 reasons. Number one, the battery won't last, okay? And number 2, the actual motor that propels your bike along, either on its own or like with assisted pedalling. Now, assisted pedalling, that is where you might have a hill in front of you, so you're pedaling along as normal on a bike, right? And then there's a hill in front of you, and then you push a button, and it instantly becomes easier to get up that hill because you've got a bit of battery backup. I gather, although I've never actually tried one yet, on these electric bikes, you've got a couple of settings. One which is assisted pedalling, okay? So there's a little bit of power, but not enough to push you forward. You've still got to do some pedalling. And there's another setting which you would flick it, and then it just goes on its own. You don't need to do any pedalling. So there are different settings on there. But I can understand where she's coming from there. As I say, I've been told not to spend less than £1,000 if I ever wanted an electric bike. I said, yeah. So we're having this little bit of a chat on there. And good luck to her. But I think I'd like an electric bike at some point in the future. Not yet. But certainly if it takes the pressure off that knee, which is a real pain sometimes. It kind of stops you doing everything. And then the other leg kind of takes over. So you push down. So I push kind of down with the right leg. And then it comes up, but I don't push down so hard on the left leg because it hurts so much, unfortunately. And that's just how it is. Good. That's it. It's Ray Reynolds. It's going to be -10 centipede next week, so you better leg it. Is someone being rude here? Jaron, are you using rude words on here? You will have to be blocked shortly. Shall I do it now? No, I'll do it later. You carry on putting your silly little words on there. We're not bothered, mate. Good. So that was that. Then I went into Morrison's, bought some corn steaks. They put the price of those up to £2.75. Thank you very much. It's outrageous. Graham says cash is going, and we may have to find other ways to pay, perhaps as we did looking back in history. You'll probably be paid differently in future. 3 potatoes, 6 carrots, and a large Swede for the karaoke nights. Oh, they'd love to pay me like that. Don't tell Martin that, for God's sake. Don't tell Martin that. Our good old friend, non-Irish Mary from Ireland, she's battling cancer at the moment. She came in a couple of months ago now, and she was sitting at the table. Martin is one of the owners of the pub I work at. Martin went over to her. He said, I don't know how to approach this lightly, but we really need the business. Can we do your wake? You see, that's how to deal with terrible things. You laugh. You laugh in the face of terrible things that are happening. That's the only way to deal with it, all right? Good. So after that, went up the swimming pool, had a swim, not too busy yesterday at all. Ronnie came over for lunch. I opened yesterday morning one of those catering packs of baked beans that I've bought. And I'm about 3/4 of the way through those at the moment. Because I had some yesterday for breakfast. I had some for lunch. And Ronnie came as well for lunch. We had chips and baked beans. So he had a load there. And I had a few with my dinner last night. So I'm down to about 1/4 of that. Because obviously when you open these great big cans, you need to eat them sort of fairly quickly. Otherwise, they can go off in the fridge. So I've just got one more portion in there. I thought, or 2 more portions. I'll probably have one of those tonight and one of those tomorrow morning. Swimming pool, not really that busy, funnily enough, in there last night. And while we were having lunch, we watched the excellent new series of Star Trek Discovery. Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. The program, it's the new series, Star Trek Discovery, Series 2, which we've been waiting a year for. I can't believe a year has passed, but it has. And the first one, I must admit, I had trouble following the very first episode of Series 2. Yesterday's show, this week's programme, fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. An excellent episode of Star Trek Discovery, number 2, that is. And then we watched Dynasty, which is always a little bit of a laugh. The acid that I was having the other day, that's a lot better now. I'm kind of still getting a little bit sort of, you feel a little bit of a sort of flutter in the food tube, but the acid isn't coming up now, so that's obviously sorted itself out. And as I say, it's bread. It's bread and bread products that really give me a problem with my acid. Funnily enough, talking to my manager last night, Guy, he's a wonderful man to work for. Or, no, with. He's a wonderful man to work with, Guy, who's like the general manager of the place I do the karaoke at. And he's doing the Slimmers World, and he's lost about 2 stone so far, I think. And he says it's funny. He said, since I've been on the Slimmers World, the acid, he had a big problem with acid, and it stopped. And I said, yes, and I've spoken to a couple of doctors about it. My specialist doctor that I go and see twice a year. I was saying to him about that, and it's a well-known fact. If you lose a bit of weight, if you've got an acid problem, generally that sorts it out. And it's instant. It's instant. The moment you start losing weight, you haven't got to lose a stone. Okay, the moment you start losing weight, so say you're 12 stone. There's not many of you who are 12 stone out there, is there? Hey, except the small people. Perhaps Diane is less than 12. I reckon Diane's less than 12 stone because she's small. But if you're like 12 stone, and then you go to 11 stone 13.5, it's instant. The acid will stop. Okay, and that was the case with me the last time. And so Guy is on the Slimming World, and he says literally the next day, it stopped and it hasn't come back since, and that's because of the weight loss. I think you can put weight back on and it won't come back until you reach a certain level. Maybe it's your body telling you, okay, you're fat enough now, start taking action immediately to lose that weight. So we had our dinner last night, as I say. One of the other things I found with an acid problem, Rene is quite good, but it can block you up. Be warned at that. It can give you terrible constipation, and you don't, especially if you're trying to lose weight, you don't want constipation. You don't want to be holding on to all of the nasty stuff. Do you know what I mean? You don't. And I found, and before you say, oh, you're put on weight, I found boiled sweets are quite good as well if you've got a bit of an acid problem, because of course, you know, I don't think you can put on much weight with a boiled sweet because it's in your mouth for so long. As long as you don't start crunching it, like something like a lemon drop or something, like pear drop or something like that. Have a couple of those if you've got this heartburn. And the very fact, you see, because you're sucking and the saliva's going down your throat all the time, soothing you, or one of those lockets. Perhaps not the ones with the honey, because that's kind of defeats the objects, but surely if you're sucking one of those sweets for a long time, you're not going to put on so much weight, are you? Morning to Merlin. Hello, Merlin. Good morning, lovely Merlin. Hello. Let's have a look here. Where are we going there? That's done that. So, yes, that was and at work last night, we had an excellent drag queen, Electric Blue, who is old school drag queen, comes on the stage, tells jokes, sings a few tunes, makes everyone laugh, entertains us all, goes off the stage to rapturous applause at the end. Fantastic. And see, I really like old school drag. You don't have to be old to do old school drag. Okay? What you've got to be is entertaining. And I've got this thing, I've watched a couple of those RuPaul drag race things. Now, to me, that's not drag. It's people looking fantastic, but that's about it. And I just don't get it. Now, they are extremely popular. You know, I can put on the stage an old school drag who I will love and other people, but they don't get the numbers that come in to see anyone who's like RuPaul's Drag Race contestant or something like that. You know, it's not to say that it's not popular. It's hugely popular, the whole RuPaul. But I don't know whether you should give that type of drag a different name, really. You know, it just seems to be about looking good and death drops. Death drops are where they fall onto the floor. That's supposed to be a really good thing. But to me, it's not. Doesn't entertain me, I'm afraid. You can look fantastic. Is it that what it's all about now? Looks, isn't it? You've only got to see all these people, and I've seen so many times doing selfies all the time, wasn't it? Merlin, was it busy last night in Central Station? An average Saturday night. We don't have mega busy nights there on a Saturday usually, but yes, it was okay. Wasn't bad at all. Good morning to Peter in Woodall Spa, who says, good morning. My mum's had a nice birthday on Friday. The sun is shining in Woodall Spa, but it's a bit cold out there. I haven't been out yet. I might go to church in the car because I like to fill up with petrol on a Sunday, ready for Monday, you see. My long, arduous journey to Lincolnshire, which I'll be doing tomorrow night for the last time, actually, for a couple of months because the caravan site closes in February and March. Peter likes the jacket and shirt. Thank you, Peter. You're very kind. Very, very kind. Right. Juan says, I thought that was the first drag king was that guy from the movie Berlin with Liza Minnelli. I don't know what that is. Don't know what that is. All right. Good morning to Christopher Islands. Morning, Christopher. Bring back the classic drag. Turn Fox, David Dow. They all work for the right to not like the drag race. David Dow, I worked with countless times in both the Black Cap, mainly the Black Cap, and also the place in Clapham, and I think there was a couple of other places. David Dow is fantastic and I haven't seen him for some years now, but I worked with him for years and years, and he is great. You're absolutely. Please send him my regards if you talk to him. Such a wonderful, talented man. He went off to run a theatre, I think, in Jersey or Guernsey, one of the two, and he was over there for some time. I think he's come back now, though. Katie says you should go to Sydney Mardi Gras. I went there with my nephew. Fun. Yes, Katie, I know one of the Sydney drag queens, Mitzi McIntosh, who became a good friend. She came over here to live with her other half. She is incredibly talented, great entertainer. Unfortunately, for whatever reason, now, over in Australia, mime is a big thing. Okay? Now, in my book, there's not much difference. Sorry, there is difference between mime and live. Is one better than the other? No, it's a different thing. That's what I say. Like with the American drag queens, that again is something different under the umbrella of drag. It's just not for me. The whole American drag race type thing is not for me. It's very good, very popular, just not for me. And again, you have mime acts and live acts. Now, it seems to me in Sydney that there's a lot of mime acts who do it very, very well. They really do. Mitzi McIntosh does a lot of mime, and they did little shows and that in a place in Newtown. Can't remember what it was called. Something hotel. Oh, it's right on the tip of my tongue, that is. But anyway, I went there, years ago this is, and Mitzi McIntosh, as well as being the drag queen, she did host, as a drag queen, a thing called Bingo, which was like her version of Bingo, and I watched this, and I thought it was fantastic. So when I came back here, I started doing it here, not as a drag queen, but as a man. I've never been a drag queen. I mean, people have said I should have done that before, but I didn't really have any interest in that. Good morning to you, Maureen. Welcome to the show, Maureen. All right, darling. So I didn't do it. I did the Bingo thing here, and that worked to a point as well. Anyway, Mitzi was hugely popular in Sydney and did her shows and always crowds of people. She brought the shows over here. Unfortunately, the whole mime thing seemed to have died down a bit here, and most acts were live. And she did her shows, which I thought were blooming excellent, but she just didn't get the reaction from the crowd. It wasn't her fault. I know this sounds stupid, but it was the crowd. They just didn't take to it for whatever reason. And I remember pushing the buttons for her and thinking, why aren't you laughing? Why aren't you paying attention? And I think she stopped doing it over here for that reason. But you see, it just goes to show that you can't just go and do your thing in another country and it will work. We've had big stars here, Morecambe and Wise, who've gone off to America to make it big time. The huge stars here, they've gone to America and it's not worked. That's just how it is. It's the different humour. I remember going to see Chicken Run. You know that film Chicken Run? Okay? And I went to see that in Florida. I was on holiday in Florida, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago now. And I'm sitting there in the cinema that's within the Florida Mall. And this film's on, and I am howling at this film. It's a British film. The Americans are sitting there, enjoying it, but not laughing out loud like I was. It's funny how things are different wherever you are. It's like Mamma Mia, the musical Mamma Mia. You go to London, you watch it, everyone's up, dancing around. Yeah, let's all have a good time. I went to America and watched it in New York. And at the end, where they come on singing all their songs, people are just sitting there and watching them. No one's got up and dancing. Funny, isn't it, how different people are? Mum's off to church this morning, Peter. I shall be off shortly, in about 15 minutes' time or so. Good. Juan loves Priscilla, Queen of the Desert. Yes, excellent film. Let's have a look. Good morning to Jerry Millen. Morning, Jerry. Ray, David Dale was in pantomime with Anita Dobson in Hull last Christmas. So thank you there. So David Dale is still working hard. I'm glad to see that. Priscilla the musical was amazing. Plus the film back in the day. Yeah, I got to saw Priscilla as well at the theatre in, was it Drury Lane when it was on there? Great film. Good morning to Adam the plumber. Late this morning, Adam. Dear, dear me. Katie's quite right. She said people don't know how to have a good time anymore. They don't. I do. I make sure I have a blooming good time. I do. Even when I'm mucking around sometimes on the stage and you get these people who are just sitting there so po-faced. You know, it doesn't bother me. Do you know, I used to spend a lot of time trying to win over people in venues who sat there po-faced. Years I used to do that. And it was about 2 or 3 years ago, I suddenly realised you're wasting your time, Chris. If they're going to sit there po-faced and they don't want to join in, leave them alone. Do not refer or look at them or anything. Excuse me, I've got an itchy nose there. 1 minute. Can I just blow my nose? That's why I can't do news on the BBC, you see. You can't be sitting there blowing your nose halfway through a news broadcast, can you? Can you just imagine that Simon doing that? We get on my nerves. He's a nice enough bloke, but I don't know. The whole Simon News 24, 2 o'clock he does, doesn't he? Simon in the afternoons. No, it gets on my bleeding nerve. His jokes are just not funny, are they? You notice that? Anyway, what was I saying? Yes, you can't work to people who are po-faced. Just ignore them. Move on to the people who are enjoying what you do. Because you're wasting your time trying to win over some of these people. They want to look miserable all night. Stay there and look miserable all night. I'm not bothered anymore. As long as I have a good time, who cares, Lester? And the people that have come to have a good time. Merlin says New Yorkers take Broadway so much more seriously. You don't get late arrivals, you don't get people eating loud food, and you don't get people on phones. People on phones? What, in the theatre? I hope that doesn't happen. I've never seen that actually happen in Merlin, to be honest. I've seen people texting on their mobile phones in cinemas, and I'm thinking, why aren't you watching the blooming film? Funny, isn't it? Paul and Lou, £2 a pint, a kebab for £1, and maybe a fight at the end of the night. That sounds like a good night for me. You can have a great time. That's in Birmingham, where Paul and Lou live, right up there. Let's have a look here. Let's just scroll up there. I haven't missed anything. Peter Lake says, should I have a good night on Friday night, Chris, on karaoke? Good morning. Make your sandwiches. Maureen makes my sandwiches. Maureen does my sandwiches. Chris, Terry Morgan Fox is a big act in the UK, USA and Spain. Terry Fox. Now that rings a bell. I must have worked with him, I think. He is also the new greats and had a famous Uncle Fofo Llama in Manchester. Terry still works today. I'm sure I've worked with Terry Fox. Long time ago, perhaps a long time ago. Good. Now, we've just got time for one story and then I'll do the birthdays. We got yesterday's birthdays and today's birthdays today. Because we weren't here yesterday. And that's for Tesco. Do you shop in Tesco's? Huh? Let's all go to Tesco's where Chris buys his best clothes. You used to sing that at school to people, didn't you? Let's all go to Tesco's where Maureen buys her Tesco's. Let's all go to Tesco's where Merlin buys his best clothes. Da 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 da. Did you ever sing that at school to people? Well, Tesco's is changing. In The Sun this morning, it says Tesco's is set to axe 15,000 jobs as part of a £1.5 billion cost-cutting saving. Yeah, it's all the accountants are out again, boys and girls. The accountants are out again, saving the money, dear. Bakeries will be overhauled, with the supermarket giant ordering staff to use pre-frozen dough instead of making it on site. The Mail on Sunday claimed the change will also see staff canteens closed down. Oh, that's a shame. not looking after the staff, and replaced with vending machines. Oh, have you ever had a cup of tea out of a vending machine? It's vile. The water's never boiling, is it? The job losses were masterminded, and the plans by a maverick CEO, Dave Lewis. Oh, he'd be getting a nice big prize for that one, wouldn't he? Tesco's announced plans to simplify the structure of its stores. They're also, according to this, going to be closing down some of their fish, meat, and deli counters. So that's a shame. So Tesco's is changing. Will you still be buying your shopping at Tesco's, I wonder, boys and girls? Or will you go out elsewhere? I mean, Aldi doesn't have any of these counters or anything. It's just in a bit of plastic, isn't it? Wrapped up and shoved in the freezer somewhere. And I think the best counters are probably in Waitrose and Sainsbury's as well. They seem to have an extensive selection of counters, and you can watch them making pizzas and things like that. You can actually see them making your pizza and all that, which I think is quite nice. It's not quite the same if it's got a bit of plastic over it and it's shoved in a freezer or anything like that, is it? Okie doke. Merlin says more of an Asda shopper than a Tesco shopper. You are, Merlin? Yeah, Asda's is good. I quite like Asda. I do like Asda. Right, let's do today's birthdays, boys and girls. It's birthday celebrations today on this Sunday, the 27th of January 2019 too. She's here with us now. She kept very quiet about this. It's Katie Ann Patterson, who's with us today. You get a live birthday. Happy birthday to you, Katie. 54 years old today, just a year and a bit behind me. It's my birthday next month. God, at the moment... No, I am actually. I'm closer to 60 than 50 now. Isn't that awful? Closer to 60 than 50. Even closer next month. But Katie today is 54 years old. Happy birthday, you lovely lady. And it's so pleased to have you with us on our show. Welcome along. Norman Scott, he was a big-time DJ. He has met everyone. He's met the Beatles, the 3 Degree. He has met everyone. Norman Scott is today 78 years old. He was a big-time DJ in some of the gay clubs in London and the straight ones as well. Happy birthday to you, Norman. 78 years old today. Dominique Hessler is 30. You're the baby today, Dominique. 31 years old today. Happy birthday, Dominique. Miles Richard Edwards, standing there in a pair of swimming trunks and looking almost as gorgeous as me, Miles. Happy birthday to you, Miles. All right, 38 years old today. Remember, life starts at 40. You still got a couple of years left to wait, mate. All right, happy birthday, Miles. Mykal Forley. Morning to Mykal. Happy birthday. Bob Dow's birthday as well. They're the Sunday birthdays. And if we go back to yesterday, because of course we weren't with you yesterday, yesterday's birthdays, so that's Saturday, January the 26th. Mark Smith yesterday was 35 years old today. Perry Sutton, 55 years old. He used to do the door at the Clapham Place. Happy birthday to you, Perry. He does a dog walking business he's got now. Richard Davis is 50 years old yesterday. Buffy Sheena was 31 years old yesterday. And Stephen Biles was 39 years old yesterday. So happy birthday to you all, gang. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Katie says thank you. It is very scary, Chris. It is very scary, Katie. It is. Getting so close to these older ages. Michael Lawrence, you're so late this morning. We've finished, mate. We've finished, I'm afraid, mate. Thanks ever so much for joining us on the show on this Sunday. It's been a pleasure to talk to you, as it always is. I don't know what I'm doing tonight, actually. Might have time for a late night phone-in tonight. We'll see how we go. Don't forget to have your little notifications set. And do subscribe, please, to my YouTube channel. You can find that at youtube.com/Chris Reardon UK. youtube.com/Chris Reardon UK. Hit the subscribe button there. And then, because sometimes you don't get the notifications on one, but you might the other. even though you might not watch it on YouTube, it might be an idea to have that subscribe thing set so that if the YouTube notification thing doesn't go off, one of the others does. So do subscribe, youtube.com/Chris Reardon UK. Right, I must dash now to church, and you have a lovely Sunday. Thanks for watching and listening. Bye-bye now.